noticed that Pat Robertson died this week, the televangelist, the founder of the 700 Club, the Christian Broadcasting Network, Regent University, the Christian Coalition, ABC Family Channel, I think, as well. He was incredibly powerful within the Republican Party. In 1986, I think he ran to be the Republican nominee in the general election, but in fact was beaten by George H.W. Bush. Pat Robertson, his name was Marion, but he felt the name Marion was too effeminate, so he went with Pat instead. But this guy was obsessed with homosexuality and claimed that homosexuality caused hurricanes, that gay people had a special ring that they could spread AIDS with. And at one point he said, where's my phone? I made a note of this. Homosexuals want to come into churches and disrupt church services and throw blood all around and try to give people AIDS and spit in the face of ministers. That was Pat Robertson, which qualifies him as a thoroughly despicable human being in many ways. And as I always make the comparison, he was walking in Jesus' shadow, not in Jesus' footsteps. He was on the path of lesser intention, not the path of higher intention. He died this week. The cause is not known, but he was 93, so old age is not out of the question there. But I thought, I can't do his transition yet because that would be unfair, as despicable as he was, but I could take a look at his crossover to see what happened. And when I found him, there was a strange-shaped building or whatever this thing was, with a very, very thin and getting thinner path around the outside of it. He was on this path. Barely. He had to put himself flat against the wall and cling on. He was actually only sticking to the wall by virtue of the sweat on his palms. It was like a plastic wall, and his sticky hands were keeping him in place and preventing him falling. And what was interesting was that he seemed terrified of falling off this path. He may have lived to 93 because he was too scared to die sooner. But life was slipping away. And I got this very profound feeling at this point that right to the very end, he was questioning whether he had earned enough points to get into heaven. At a subconscious level, he will have been aware of all the terrible things he'd said and done that caused so much harm to so many people. And right in that last second, something opened up ahead of him, a door, a wall or something, and he was able to make the leap into it. This will have been his very, very final hours. A long walk down a very large, echoey corridor. But there was a light at the end, and in his consciousness, he was figuring that God was around the bend at the end. Only as he got closer to the light, and he finally died, this brought him into that cave that I always see when people go. It's like a meet and greet. It's not real, it's metaphorical, but he ended up in there and realized straight away that he hadn't gone to hell, but he hadn't gone to heaven either. He looked up the tunnel and saw the light at the top of there and thought, aha, that is where God is. And he was very concerned about how he presented himself. He was humbled, actually, by this moment. I felt tremendous humility in the face of the revelation he was about to have. Interestingly, the tunnel was very small, a bit like a drainage channel, and he had to stoop in order to get up it. Furthermore, it was getting narrower, smaller, tighter, to the point where he was on his hands and knees when he reached the end. It was a very small hole he had to get through. At this point, I became very confused about what this was, actually. Was it real humility that held him back? Was he scared of facing God at that point? And in his consciousness, this is how it materialized. Or was it the universe, grace, saying, we're not ready for you yet. You're not in a fit state to be met by these higher vibration energies. In your consciousness, you still have these views, these attachments, these beliefs, these misapprehensions about God, the universe, whatever it is. And you need to shake that off before you'll be allowed in. It could be that too. I wasn't very sure. I don't think he quite understood what was really going on in terms of the universe, and there is no separation between us and God. We are small gods in our own way. I don't think he understood any of that. He was walking in Jesus' shadow. It was all about a book and what a book said. And the book couldn't be wrong. And if the book said you had to be unkind to certain people, then he would follow the book and be unkind, even though it didn't make any sense in terms of what he believed. But I think in his consciousness, at least, as he approached the light, that came back to haunt him. It wasn't a happy crossover at all.